life right now. So you look at this and it says, what does vanity mean? We don't use the word a lot. I mean, like somebody's vain, you're so vain you probably thought this song was about you, that kind of thing. It's not that. And I will just say this, oftentimes you'll see translations of the Bible and they'll translate it without meaning or meaninglessness. Now, I'm not here to criticize, but that is kind of a moral judgment the translators are making. That's not what the word literally means in Hebrew. No one in Hebrew is, what's vanity mean? Without meaning, like some moral judgment. So what does the author mean? What is God saying when he says, you're supposed to enjoy this life, but everything is what? Vanity. So here's the definition. Hebrew, havel is the word. It's translated in the authorized version as vanity and other ones. And literally, it means two things. One, vapor has an unsubstantial nature. What's that mean? That's real wordy. It's kind of like when you would go out and breathe in the air when it's cold and you see your breath. There's nothing really there. It's gone, and then it's there for a second, and it's what? Gone. It's not real substantial. But even more than that, and here's the big deal, it has a transitory nature. That's just a nice way of saying this thing about life. It's like vapor. It's not really there, and it's really short. In fact, there's tons of metaphors in the Bible. It says your life's like grass. One of the metaphors, it's like water spilt on the ground. So here's the question. Do you understand life is going fast? Because Ecclesiastes is just arguing, you have no concept of that. Now, I will date myself a little bit. I used to do this. I started student ministry. I taught like 4 and 5-year-olds, but I think I started student ministry at 23 years old. And I would tell the story back then. I can remember it like yesterday. Let's say God gives you 80 years. It's out of the Bible. 7 + 10. 80 years. And I remember I sat there and I'm 23 years old. So if I'm using this metaphor as the stage, we'll say this is the day of my birth, 0. And I'm going to be 80. And the reason I would teach this is back then, so 35 I'm going to go about right here. I was probably about 23. And I liked teaching this back then. Because I'm looking at all these middle school students who are like 13 years old, and they're way back here. And what I'm trying to impress upon them is they think they have their whole life to make decisions for Christ and things like that, but it's going to go fast. But I was only right here. Now I'm right here. Wow. That went fast. What is he trying to say? And here's what I'm going to press upon you tonight. There's universal principles in the book of Ecclesiastes. I'm going to talk about one tonight, but there's 3. It's a comparison of man and life, God and life, and God and man. I'll give you a triangle next week, or actually 2 weeks, because next week we're taking off for 4th of July. But there's 3 relationships in this book that are the universal principles for you to get. So the one I want to look at tonight is simply this: you and your life. You and your life. The big idea is this: life is very limiting. Now, this is me. I grew up loving Marvel Comics. I did. I remember I wrote a letter when I was 8 years old to Stan Lee. If you don't know who he is, shame on you. He wrote me back. I saved the card. Him, Jack Kirby, all of it, Bashima, the artist, all of that stuff. I mean, I still have all my comic books at home, sealed up, acid proof, worth money now, all of that stuff. What are you going to do with them? Die with them? Are you going to give them to one of your grandchildren? I wouldn't trust them. They'd tear them up. But let me ask you this. If you could have any superpower, what would you have? Because I used to think about that. So there was this character in X-Men called Nightcrawler. What's that have to do with life being limiting? Wouldn't life be so much better if you could just transport any place you want to go? Because let's just be honest. This could be a little depressing, but here's the reality. How many places will you get to see on this planet? It's very limiting. Well, I'm going to go to this country. It's like I'm going to go see Ireland for a week. I always think about that when people are going to come visit the United States. What are you going to do? Hit New York, hit D.C., hit L.A., take off. See like 3 things at each city. I mean, just let that sink in. How limiting is life? There's this huge, beautiful planet of God's creation. How much of it will you actually see? And I get there's YouTube and I get there's video, but you won't see a lot. How else is it limiting? How many relationships will you have? You know, I got a list of people I would like to meet. It's a weird list, and I won't tell you all of them. I'd like to meet Jalen Rose. If you don't know who he is, basketball player, played for Michigan, commentator. I like to meet him. I like to have a conversation with him. I like him. I never will. My wife's famous favorite entertainer of all time is Steve Martin. I've been close to him. I've sat on the front row. I've seen him. She likes him ever since you don't start off playing banjo, all that stuff. We'll never meet him. Life's limiting. In fact, to be honest, we have such a limiting capacity that we'll probably have 200 acquaintances, and even at the church you can go to, like Abundant Life, the reality is you only know so many people, and you'll interact with them over and over again. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if you could fly? Wouldn't it be cool if you could transport? Wouldn't it be cool if your mind could just take in so much information, but it's very limiting? But I'll give you the big one on the idea that life is limiting is these things. And this is from Ecclesiastes. I've taught this in college and things like that, and I break all these down, but I'm just going to give you a taste of them. You say, man, this is kind of depressing. Your life's vapor, it goes fast. How is your life limiting? Number 1, it's limited substantially. All men and beasts are made of dirt. I don't have superpowers. I can't fly. I can't read your mind. I can't be more than one place. All the science fiction movies are based on being able to transcend that. Travel at the speed of light, to go to another planet. We can't do that. We're made of dirt. After that, there's nothing new. That's kind of a little depressing. Well, I did this. Yeah, you're not the first. I thought this, nothing new. Now with your kids, you lie and you tell them it is. You know, like, I drew this. Yeah, so your older sibling, they actually did a better job. You don't say that. But the reality is, there's nothing new. Well, let's just be really honest. I just feel like being really transparent. Well, Abundant Life's going to have this creative new way to reach the city. It's not new. We have this new Bible study. It's not new. I'm teaching Ecclesiastes. It's not new. All things are full of labor. Who's figured out you have to work in this life? Who's figured out after the curse it can be kind of hard? All things are full of labor. It's limiting. There's no profit. What does that mean? You don't like store up things. It means there's nothing left over. We're not like mummies that, bury our treasure in our coffin and go. You say, well, reward in heaven. Remember, it's about under the what? The sun. It's limiting. It's very limiting. Here's the next one. You'll die. And you will not have enough time in this life to do everything you wanted to do. And you will not have enough time in this life to see everything you wanted to see. And you will not have enough time in this life to experience everything you wanted to experience. Because you will die, because this life is what? Limiting. Now, I'm not going to get nerdy for a second, but I'm not into secular existentialism, but I am in for good theology existentialism, and how you view death will govern your life, and Ecclesiastes is about this. He's just screaming at you, you're going to die. The bus leaves at 10. Man will be quickly forgotten. Used to pastor at a church here in town called Graceway, and there was a park. It was ball fields, and at the ball fields they named it after the founding pastor of the church. Within a few years, any kid that played ball up there would look at the name and not know who he was. What could be worse than that? They sold the fields. You're quickly forgotten. Talked to somebody one time, what would my legacy be? You won't have one. Finally, after that, man's future is what? Wouldn't it be nice to know the future? Not really. Wish I would know my day of my death, how I would die. No, you don't. So you read all those things, and he's saying, it is so limiting. So what is the response to that? Be depressed? Give up? And here's what he says. Man is to enjoy life. Let that sink in. Man is to enjoy life. Man is to enjoy life. 4 things he says. Number 1, God made everything. Well, to worship God, I must come to the house of the Lord and bow down in reverence and submit to him, and that is how I worship. Okay? I really contemplated whether I would share this because it's going to be dorky, but I'm just going to go ahead and share it. People ask me how my weekend was. Horrible. My wife and I put our dog down. 15 years. If you don't love dogs, you're not saved. Don't come up, give me a lecture on they don't have a soul. We're talking about under the sun. I cried leading up to it. I cried when I did it. I cried when I held her. I cried the day after. I cry if you come up and talk to me afterwards. Man, it's kind of weird. Nope. God made my dog. And I enjoyed my dog. I went on walks with my dog. And when I got tired of counseling people, I went home and talked to my dog. But she was only here 15 years. My wife rescued her. You get another one? I don't know. But I know this, it went quick. You say, man, that's such an insignificant thing in all the things. Do you enjoy the little things in life? Because God made them. You enjoy your career? Do you enjoy your hobby? I'm not even mentioning the people around you. You enjoying your life? It goes quick. Possessions are a gift from God. I'm not telling you to be materialistic, but if you have a house, do you invite people? You're one of those people who bought a boat. Do you have family members? I'm just joking, but here's the deal. You got a boat? Do you enjoy it with people? The stuff that God's given you, are you enjoying it? The opportunity and ability to enjoy life is a gift from God. And I'll talk about this at the end, but when you get older, the capacity to enjoy it disappears. And I'll talk about this one in a second to finish up. And then finally it says this, enjoy life when? Because it's a vapor. So you're going to go through the step on forgiving people. You don't know how long you'll live, but you can decide how long it will be till you forgive people. You don't get to decide how long you live, but you will decide how long you grieve. You can spend your whole life wishing, regretting, dying, or you can literally enjoy the life you have now because the bus leaves at 10 and there's only so many rides to ride. I'll give you the last one on this one. I actually called my mom to get permission. A few years back, my dad wasn't acting the way he should. Not remembering things. Got the diagnosis. It's the long goodbye. It is dementia. It is specifically Alzheimer's. The reality is this. I work in mental health. So I get the double curse. Number one, I say goodbye to my dad slowly. Number two, I can diagnose it so I can literally see how the disease progresses, which there is no cure. It ends with him dying. Well, we all die, but I get to watch it. Still knows me, still recognizes me, still enjoys me, but doesn't remember my name all the time. Doesn't remember the other people, doesn't remember my children's names. The reality is this life is limiting, and this life goes fast. And I don't know how much more time I have with him. And Solomon screams at me, what? Enjoy your life. Drive down to Springfield. Go on a walk with him. Talk to him. Share with him. Live your life with him. It screams at you, this life is so limiting. What's the best thing you can do with it? Ride a roller coaster and go on a ride. Your life will be over before you know it, and the people you love will be gone before you know it. So the question I always end up with this one as we go through it is simply this. Are you enjoying your life? Thank you.